zama da juna ba, kuma idan tsautsayi ya raba ni da ke ba zan yi aure ba. Mutuka raba na sarai na kan san ki ne na yo dan ba, yarda da amana suke sa ya so ya yo tarko.
Kai fa daidai da ni ne, daga ni za a gane. Kai garan magani ne, sannan mahadi ne. Tunani nawa kai ne, komai nawa kai ne. Jini jiki nawa kai ne, kuma kai ne mai martaba na.
Kula da ni, ki ji da ni, ki kuma buɗan ido na. Ki tsanani, ki hada ni, da zan karan ki ƙauna. Kin sani ki ci gani, sannan kin zan mazina. Uwa ga ɗa'ana mai ɗaki na.
Magwajin lokaci na, zuciya kai ta nuna. Kai ka zama ginshiki na, garkuwar rayuwa na. Kai nake wa kallon miji, jagora gun tarbiya.
San ki ba zan bari ba, ko za a kai ni inda ba za na dawo ba. Shawara ba ni jinta inda ya kai ki ne ba za na karba ba. Tunda ba wanda zai fahimce ni san ki bai saka ni shirme ba. Ba buƙatar a duba inda ke ce na zaɓa. Ke na ba zuciyata, kuma ba zan ce da ke ki kawo ba.
Ka tafi zan mutu ni dai.
Babu inda zani da ike mini daidai.
Babu kai zan shiga hadari.
Ba ni barin ki cikin garari.
Ka san kai yanayi mini rana.
Ni ma ya canjan yanayi na.
Domin soyi na gode maka.
Na gode miki,
Na gode maka.
na gode miki.
Na gode maka ni dai.
Ko baro ba ta gwada mana yanda ake zama da juna ba, kuma idan tsautsayi ya raba ni da ke ba zan yi aure ba. Mutuka raba na sarai na kan san ki ne na yo dan ba, yarda da amana suke sa ya so ya yo tarko.
Kai fa daidai da ni ne.
We'll wait a bit for the Bayero University Theatre, the theatre Department of Theatre and Performing Arts. They were generous to host us. will join us, but we're very grateful for his allowing us to use the facility. So maybe an applause in absentia, Professor Farouk Jibrin. And of course, our very wonderful panelists who you will get to meet as the day goes on. We have Kalteva, Paul Liam, Razak Malik Bolahon, Zainab Abubakar. Thank you all so much for joining us. And so, moving on, we will welcome one of the curators and the co-founder of Poetic Wednesdays, in person of Salim Yunus, to come and tell us why we're here and what this is all about and why it's important that we need it here today. Please put your hands together for Salim Yunus.
Good morning, everyone. And to those who will observe, I wish to acknowledge and appreciate the presence of all our esteemed guests, our participants, honorable members of the press, the university community, and the general public for being here with us on this August occasion. One peaceful morning, I woke up to a message from the SIBA. It was a flyer saying that Poetic Wednesdays initiative was organizing the Kano National Poetry Festival. I wiped the sleep from my eyes and looked at the flyer again. Then after reading it, I responded, Siva, are you sure we are ready to do this? Will we have the money? Will we have the support? He said, yes. We'll probably have enough to mobilize funds and throw a fantastic festival. Ladies and gentlemen, that was 6 months ago, and I'm pleased to inform you that we still don't have money. We will be able to put together resources and do this. Here we are today, at the first ever Kano International Poetry Festival. It is by extension the only poetry festival in northern Nigeria. It has not been easy putting this together, but my team and I do not doubt that it will be working. I hope this answers the question on which is that we have had a number of festivals. There are so many festivals coming up in northern Nigeria, so why this? I am told that we are having these festivals, especially in this part of the country. You see, in this part of the country, we have many unsung heroes and heroines. We have many unsung poets, writers, critics that have given their lives to the struggle in the region arts and culture. You see, festivals are remarkable opportunities to educate, empower, enlighten, and entertain the general public. They are a breath of fresh air where we ignite the fires of our literary passion, cultivate new friendships, and rekindle old ones. And above all, we get to immerse ourselves in rich conversations about the arts, culture, music, poetry, and society at large. Kapfest is all this and more. Where else to celebrate written and oral poetry if not the beautiful ancient city of Kano? A city positively vibrating with the creativity of wordsmiths and storytellers. Where else, if not the home of Amin Kano, movie speaking, Bashir Tofa, Dr. Bala Muhammad, and Professor Abdullah Ula? Where else, if not the home of Afunexi, for the love of poetry, Anna, King, and countless other literary societies? Where else, if not the Kano of Adam Waka, Nazir Sarkin Waka, Mudassir Asim, Rarara, BBO, and others? Kano was, is, and will continue to be a portfolio of talent and creativity. It is only right that we celebrate one's creativity here. This festival seeks to explore important contemporary issues, such as artificial intelligence and its intersection with creative writing. It also seeks to explore the relevance of poetry in a rapidly evolving world and the art of spoken word poetry. There are 2 panel discussions in Hausa language, where we will discuss music and Kano and poetry now and before. We are also performing 2 brand new artists, which is Zainab Dobi and Jalal Musa Aliu, with their new connections in different group chats, while we also discuss some of the most popular poets in Nigeria, which is Umar Abubakar. Additionally, yesterday we hosted two creative writing workshops, one in Hausa and one in English, with over 20 participants. Finally, we are hosting a poetry slam where what's most get to stand out, with prizes worth 200,000 naira. To close our festival, we shall set our stage on fire with the lively poetry and musical performances from various talented artists. We understand the importance of culture. This is why we are providing more. No matter how small it is, no matter how little we think it is. We are giving our young and upcoming poets and artists a chance to grow, to be seen, and to excel. We are providing a platform to celebrate and honor our veterans and unsung heroes. This is why we named the Poetry Slam after the celebrated activist and poet, the late Alhaji Modi speaking. We are providing a platform to preserve, to document, and to propagate the rich culture of artistry and expression among our youth. Here at Poetic Wednesdays, we are not just a home for big names. We believe in small names that have the potential to be big. In our 8 years of operations, we have organized several competitions for young people and we have given out prizes worth 500,000 naira. We have published an anthology and have conducted several creative writing workshops for over 500 people, both online and offline, and we have posted book chats for young authors. Through our monthly bonds, we have connected our young participants with mentors to guide and nurture their talents. And this has been going on for more than 8 years. We have been a platform where we have donated over 5,000 books to many secondary schools across northern Nigeria. We are driven with the zeal to see young people discover their talents and excel. At this point, this festival wouldn't have been possible without the kindness of our many partners, our sponsors, and well wishers. It wouldn't have been possible without our guests who traveled all the way from various parts of the country and even joined from abroad. So we are very excited that you have accepted our invitation and we really appreciate it. I wish to give a special shout out to the Theatre and Performing Arts Department, very University Kano, for generally hosting us. Ideas and Data Global and Open Arts. We called and you answered, despite the national economy. You supported us with all we had, from the local purpose of books, providing accommodation to our guests, giving us venues, purchasing tickets for others, and even giving out clothing material as our prizes for our slam poets. So support came from us, from small local businesses and organizations who chose to remain anonymous. We are short of words to express our profound gratitude for making this a reality. And to call out the media corporation and the big business corporations to truly exercise their corporate social responsibility by supporting just causes, movements, and events such as this for the betterment of the society as a whole. I am calling out the responsibility to invest in its own people, their arts, and literary
so much, Salim. And he's right. Nasiba woke up one day, and I think maybe she was bored, and she thought, how do I increase the blood pressure of every member of Poetic Wednesdays? So she said we must host this festival, and here we are in the ancient city of Kano. Borrowing from Professor Yusuf Adamu's words, this is the city that offers more to engage in and more to marvel at. It is the city for saints, for sinners, for the active, for the dormant. It has a place for everyone. So welcome to Kano. Let's go over a few house rules before we continue. Of course, the usual. Let's put our phones on silent. Please let's use that exit when we're going out. It's to my left, so we do not distract people. And then, of course, a very important rule. I'm going to be saying some Hausa words. You have to promise not to laugh at my Hausa. It's a rule, but it's also a promise. And then finally, we're going to really start off with two performances. The first is from someone I really enjoy listening to, a young poet. He's the author of Tears on a Red Rose. If you've been to FLP programs, that's for the love of poetry, or Young Creative Writers Association programs, you would know Ali Maman, and you will know that his poetry is fire. So please put your hands together for our first performance for the day from Ali Maman.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ali Muhammad, and they did not tell me I would be the first performance. So, whatever I give you, please take it like that. The name of my piece is 3 a.m. and it goes like this. 3 a.m. is the time to pray. So, are you distracted by the scratch? Should I perform with my voice? 3 a.m. is the time to pray. To spread your namaz like your hopes and put your forehead on the ground. Voice, okay. Yeah, I think the scratch is very distracting. Yes.
Hold on. I thought there was a second mic.
It's on the light.
Testing. Can I? Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ali Omalon, and the name of my piece is 3 a.m. 3 a.m. and it goes like this. 3 a.m. is the time to pray, to spread your namaz like your hopes and put your forehead on the ground. Kaka ta ce, pray for you, pray for me, pray for your parents, pray for everything you want. I said, Kaka, everything I want? She said, everything you want. So 3 a.m. became the time to talk to him about all the assignments I had missed and beg him to close the eyes of my teachers when they are marking my scores. 3 a.m. became the time of soliciting him for a new bike because all my friends had gotten theirs and I didn't want to be left behind. I visited 3 a.m. again when I was about to write jam. In fact, we became so close that I decided not to read. We met again when post-UTME was approaching, when first semester exam was due. Our relationship was built upon hope and trust, no need for alarm clocks. He blended into me and I into him as we trotted down the path to submission. But along the way, I made another friend. His name was Sleep. He visited me in the early hours of the night with promises of peace, eloped with me into the dream world, and filled my heart with fantasies. I couldn't get rid of him no matter how hard I wanted to. The next time I got to visit 3 a.m. was when my grandmother passed away. When ASU went on strike, and when the strike started striking. But of all these visits, the most memorable was when I fell in love. I remember spreading my namaz like my feelings, putting my forehead on the ground and saying, Lord, she is everything I want. She is beauty wrapped in elegance, wrapped in grace. She is the warmth of winter, the ice cream in summer. She is the whiteness above the clouds, the calmness under the rain. Lord, she is my night at 3 a.m. My other friends, my human friends, they have an annoying habit of reminding me of all the things I can't get. Wancha, but I couldn't let go. I couldn't let go even on days when the thought of your hand in mine was farther than the distance between the sun and the earth. I couldn't let go even when doubts and fears slipped under the door into my soul and gave me 1,001 reasons why I was undeserving of you. Because I had 3 a.m. Because Kaka told me to pray, to spread my namaz no matter my little hopes and pray. Pray for me, pray for her, pray for my parents, pray for everything I want for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ali. Please put your hands together for him once more. Hopefully you've dismissed from waking up 3 a.m. and only prayed. The next performer, if you're on Facebook, of course you're familiar with him. He loves tea, he loves poetry. He's Ibrahim Sodengi. Please put your hands together as he serenades us with some words.
Taken waken sanadiyar soyayyar wake. Da farin watan samaniya, da burbushi icen wuta zubar gado na baituka ga sahiba mu kammala kina zubi da garzai. Abinda dukka zan faɗi yana zubi da hankali da zautuwa ta majjani, ku je ga Laila za ku je ni ban ado da hankali. Kina kamar ubangijin da baya jin irin abin da ran jiki yake jiyar da ni wuta ta sanki ta wuce jahima kuna balbali. sun ce an ce na ce tsaya ne ma na ce kafin a ce kucan an ce na ce kin zarta tantare biyar cikakkiyar kai kada sanya tuzali kina kama da da ni da shi da ita da su da ku da mu da abin da ba a iya gani ki tallafe ni kan a ce ina iri da hankali ban sanya za na so ki ba ko na sani ban san ni ba ban sanya za na san ni ba dama ban so na san ki bai bari ne tattali masoyiya 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 kina kama da zahiri da baɗini da mallaki da ilimi da arziki da tallafi da lamuni da tambari da tsokaci da dandali da arziki da zahiri a ce zahiri to kina kama da turai ku ƙara mai da hankali da nazarin tafakkuri abinda duk nake faɗi tafsiru ne bayanu ne sharhi ne da littafi mukammali ku bar batu na huru in san ba su yin burgagari da tozalin da gazalin da kunturin da nonuwan haba a jiya akwai wa wasu dai da ke ado da hankali masoyiya na au ashe ba ni ba ne baki to ki ƙara min uzuri fa na izana yo ake irin wuyan ubangijin jikin wuyan ki haɓɓari masoyiya masoyiya ki zo mu je wajen gari mu gangara ruwan gurin mu sha mu wanke zuciya da zahiri da baɗini ki zo mu je mu dandali na rera baituka ga ki rausaya ki rangaza kina haka sanan ki dan juyi haka ni ko ina ta yin zubar gado na baituka ga mai azan tawakkuli masoyiya tala kina kama da waccan a'a ba ita ba waccan mai ɗaurin kallabin da ke ta sunkuyar da kai da murmushi a hankali kike wasa da hankali 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 masoyiya kina kama da tuzali da tubali da gazali da dandali da lamuni da ilimi da tambari da tsokaci da hankali masoyiya a hankali kike wasa da hankali
Please, one more time, let's put our hands together. That was beautiful. You know, they always say that to be the muse of a poet than a prose writer. And I quite agree, because you get to be serenaded with these beautiful words, and then they might kill you if it's a prose writer. But anyways, so we are moving on. And we've left the opening ceremony. We are open, basically. Let me just give a basic rundown of what today is going to be like, what we have in store for today. At 12 o'clock, that's noon, we'll have the D1 of Rumi, a panel discussion about poetry. It will run till about 2 o'clock, then we'll break for the Jumat prayer. The mosque is not far away. And the prayer starts, I think, about 2:10, thereabout. We will reconvene around 2:30, so we can have the next panel. Remember our promise, right? You will not laugh at me. So the next panel will be Rubutattun Waƙoƙin Hausa, Jiya da Yau, Ina Aka Kwana, Ina Za a Tashi. See, I didn't do bad. Then that will run till around 4, thereabout. And then we will break to pray, and then we'll come back for the poets who are going to slam it out and slug it out for the grand prize of 100,000 naira. And then we'll call it a day till tomorrow. So yes, we are about to start our very first panel, which is the Day 1 of Okay, so sorry, just before our panel starts, we'll have a short open remark from one of our sponsors, Ideas and Data Global. Please, can the representative join me? Okay, please put your hands together.
Thank you so much. Good morning to you all. I will stand on the existing protocol. My name is Ceremoney Usman. I'm the project manager of Ideas and Data Global Academy Kano office. I welcome you to this incredible event, one of the best and unique that ever happens in Kano. At Ideas and Data Global Academy, we are committed in supporting women, youth, and any such creative event like this. A result-based activity with a lot of impact at the end of it. And this is what even leads to Ideas and Data to sponsor one of the organizations in Kano that organized the first national spoken word contest a few months back, where we bring people across the nation from different states and they participated. And at the end of the day, we have 12 participants, 3 winners got with something. So why Ideas and Data Global Academy is doing this? There are 2 things. First, we want to unlock the potential of our youth. And secondly, we want our youth to understand with their talents, they can utilize it positively and address issues because of the power of what? Issues like social justice, sustainable development goals. And that is what makes us to even ask our recent contestants to come up with a solution as they are contesting from one of the SDGs. A lot of the participants spoke on the issue of quality education, the solution toward that, zero hunger, no poverty, climate action, and many other things. And that is the reason that even give us an opportunity to support this event. What we are looking at, our youth has a potential, and all what we want is for them to utilize the skills, the talent, and speak to people because of the power of words. There is creativity in poem and poetry, and that is what we want. Now, nowadays, you need to use creativity to address a lot of things. With that, a lot of people will come and sit down and listen to you. At Ideas and Data Global Academy, we produce 25,000 youths in Kano State that are already into development work. And from these 25,000 youths that we produce in Kano State, 70% of them have joined different organizations, different initiatives, and they are doing well in Kano State, while 30% of them have come up with their own personal initiative. Talking to you, there is not any other place we will go without seeing our advocate that we produce, courtesy of Ideas and Data addressing things related to SDGs. So all what we want is creativity. Our people should know that with this value, with this talent, with these skills, there are a lot of things that they can use it to address. They can contribute a lot more than even bringing people on board to sit down in a hall trying to lecture them. So that is why we are promoting this activity. And at Poetic Wednesday, we are glad, we are happy, we are part of the sponsors, and we are looking forward to the next version of this. And we like to advise that this is something that you should advance to other states because there is power in words, more especially when it comes to poem. And thank you so much. First, I will not conclude without even appreciating all the people sitting here because without you people, this wouldn't have been possible. You people are here and make this possible. So thank you so much for coming. And at the end, I would like to appreciate the brain box, the mind behind Ideas and Data Global Academy. You don't like us to be talking about him, but we have to do it because we want to set an example. What we need to do is to give back to our community, just like our respected elders sitting there. They are trying to give back to our community. They are trying to support youth based on what they think they can be able to do it. So I would like to appreciate, please, he's not here, but let's appreciate Mustafa Shehu, the project coordinator of Agile Katsina State and the founder of Ideas and Data Global Academy. He has been doing a lot in Kano, Katsina, Bauchi, and almost northern states in Nigeria. So thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for allowing IDs and Data Global Academy to be part of the sponsors. And we are looking forward for any other creative initiative that result this one with a lot of effort. And then at the end, I would like to tell you one good thing, which is very important. We all need to understand that we need to localize on what we are doing. A lot of people, I always say this whenever I go to a function, seminar, or a conference. There are issues on education, a lot of things. Let's just pick it as an example. How many of us, the bag of rice in our house will finish and then we discard it? Why can't we utilize it and put a smile to that child that do go to school? He need a bag. He doesn't have it. Why can't he use the bag of rice and come up with his school bag and support that particular person? So please, we want this kind of solution. Localizing sustainable development goes to becoming the point, so that a lot of people will go back home thinking. You've changed their perception and thinking. At the end of the day, they'll be thinking of how am I going to apply this solution that was safe emotionally and with powerful words of years. So thank you so much, guys. Do not hesitate to reach out to Ideas and Data Global Academy when you need any support, a result base with a lot of impact. We will support you, really financially. Technically, we have a team that can review your proposal, your project, and support you to make sure that your project is off to a success. And thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much to our sponsors, Ideas and Data Global. So a slight correction, the Jamaat prayers will be 1:30. So the next panel will run for an hour, 20 minutes, so that we can allow people who need to perform their prayers do so. This panel is curated by one of our partners, Koya Shamsuruni. How many of us have heard of them? Okay, so Koya Shamsuruni is a poetry-only publishing house. It's run by the co-founders Omar Abubakar Sidi and Richard Ali, and managed by Swedi Agema Bashima. This particular panel is about going to discuss poetry and the collections of the authors they've published. They published Razak Malik's The Other Names of Grief in 2020, and the announcement for Nasiba's Pickled Moments and Mani Ismail's Ivory Night was yesterday. So please, if you haven't, you should remember that. This panel is to discuss poetry, and it's also in honor of the Persian poet Jalaluddin Rumi. So please, I welcome the panelists. First panelist is Razak Malik Bolano. Please put your hands together for him, all the way from Lagos. It's so nice to have him here. I've never seen him before. This is my first time seeing him, so it's really nice to have him with us. Please. And then our poet of light, who we all love, and who brought us here today, Nasiba Babali. And then also part of the organizing club, but also someone who is very passionate about poetry and has helped countless young poets to find their craft.
Hello, everyone at Kapfest. It's a pleasure to be here. Um, I was hijacked to do this panel, of course. But of course, my boss, Richard Ali, was supposed to be the host for this panel. But I'm familiar with all the boys here. Ismail Bala, Nasiba Babale, and Razak Malik, sorry. Me and Razak, we're very old-time friends, and I've read the forthcoming collections. So we are in the divan of Rumi, more of like the council of Rumi poets. We are Shams Rumi poets. Ismail Bala's book is forthcoming every night. Nasiba's book, Pickled Moment, is forthcoming. Rasa has published the Names of Grief years back. So that is what we are here for. We are doing this in the spirit of the passion for Rumi. So, quick one, we are looking at into the creative process of your writing, and whether you go into spells, write your poetry, whether you, I don't know, whatever you do that makes the poetry come out. And I would like to start with, to be around, we're going around with the titles of collections. Ismail Bala, your book, Every Night, is a dialogue. Though I read that part, I still don't understand. Is it between a male persona and a female persona?
Thank you, Counteva. Actually, the book Every Night, which is forthcoming, it's inshallah coming out in the next few weeks. It's written in 4 parts. It's written in 4 parts. The first 2 parts are in the voice of a man. The second part is in the voice of a woman. And then there are 2 shorter parts that were written in an undistinguishable voices. I was trying to neutralize gender. It's basically about a love affair, which is on the way. So the man in the first part is telling his own side of the story. In the second part, the woman is telling her own side of the story. And the 2 complementary parts would be attributed to either of the 2. So basically, that's what the book is about.
Thank you. I'm particular about the poem that gave the book its title. That is the Every Night. If I'm not mistaken, that's the female persona. So why did that poem? And I think it's about it's post-coital feeling and whatever. So why that poem? Why was it used as the title of the work? And how does that title give us a window into the overall appreciation or how we can enter the book? Well, I would like to you that you quote some of the lines in the poem.
Okay. Yeah. When it comes to giving title, I'm really terrible at it. When I finished the collection and it was selected for publication, I submitted it without a title, and the editors asked me for a title. I found it difficult to suggest an appropriate title. The title I had in mind, the editor cut it down. So in the end, I gave the editor the leeway to suggest a title, and he picked on Every Night. I wrote the book in such a way that each of the poems, and there are about 90 something poems in the book as a whole, each of the poems in the collection could indeed be used as the title of the collection. Every Night, it's from the female part of the collection, and it's like you said, post coitus experience. I was trying to explore female sexuality from a male perspective. Even though, as the structuralist, was it Roland Barthes, or one of the structuralists said, you cannot live out of your own structure and observe other people's structure. What he meant was that you can't imagine being a woman when you are a man. No matter how well known you think you know a woman, there is no way you could put yourself in the structure of a woman. You can't imagine how it feels like to be a woman. But I was trying to do that from a poetic perspective.
And I think you succeeded a bit there.
To decide. Okay. And I was also trying to look at love, romance, sex, whatever, from multiple perspectives. People think that when you talk about love, it's only a romantic love, but there is spiritual love, there is familial love, there is love for God. There are so many hues that you can, and interpretation that you can give to love. So I was exploring this from a male perspective, from a female perspective, and like I said, from an undistinguishable persona. I was appropriating the voice of a woman, the voice of a man, and the voices that could either belong to a man or to a woman.
Okay, thank you. So, you're supposed to be compromising that particular person. Very nice. Okay.
Before I read for the actual book, the main book, The Ivory Night, is not yet out. It will come out, like I said, in the next few weeks. But this is a chapbook which have just been published. There are 30 poems in here which are accepted from Ivory Night. So that's why if you see me holding a book, it's not Ivory Night, it's a chapbook which just came out. Ivory Night. Blood stained the ivory night I made love. My human broke some raptures after. You blotted my thoughts. They are lush and virgin and do not build the innocence I presume. I dream of a man all the while, loving and caring me all out. I yearn to twine his tongue with mine, in return for the ecstasy that true poison offers. And after I have been defiled by my thoughts I want to let go of, then I have to go through the rites of sacrifice so that I can bow before you unscathed when it's time to sing the psalms. Thank you.
Thank you for that reading. Yes, I would like to invite Nasiba now. Of course, we heard the poem. As a woman, what would you think about this?
Kano is touching on this question. I don't know. As the poem was being recited, I had a lot of thoughts, and now that you said, what did I think about it? It's difficult for me to gather those thoughts back, but I'll try my best. I'm a very imaginative person, so as you were singing, I was imagining the woman.
We all were.
Yeah, so I was imagining the persona, and I like the particular part where he said, and after I've been defiled by my thoughts. So, I don't know. Honestly.
Oh, you bloated my thoughts.
Is it your blood? Okay.
Yeah, you bloated my thoughts. They are lush and virgin, and they must veil innocence, I presume.
Okay, yeah, definitely. So I think that was kind of my.
I think in a nutshell, he was saying he was trying to explore sexuality. What would you do? And then what would you do?
What would you do? Okay, how to survive being single.
Yes, how to survive being single. Yes.
Okay, just a minute. Let me access. Sorry.
Problem.
You don't find things when you're looking for them.
Are we there?
No, I'm terrible at finding
Okay.
things.
Let's go back to slide.
No, don't worry.
Okay, you're there now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got it from my chapel. It's
Okay.
closer. So, how to survive being single?
Yeah, please pay attention to this point.
How to survive being single? Do not be beautiful. Do not have a face that makes the sun envious. Do not have a radiance that turns ice to you. Single is oil and beauty is water. Do not smile. Do not make the world better with the motion of your lips. Mourners don't smile. You may not have lost a loved one, but you should know grief. How could you smile? Do not have dreams. Do not wake up every day to the sound of your ambition. Do not aspire to be anything. Dreaming is a planet where singles do not survive. Do not walk with your head high. Your eyes should be on the earth. Count the pebbles. Ponder about your feet. When you meet people, do not greet them first. Lament. Remind them of your sadness. Tell them about regrets weighing down your back. Dazzle them with your self-pity. Do not reject a man. Do not say no. Time is running out. You cannot afford to think. It doesn't matter what his attitude is. Who cares if he drinks? Isn't it better than being single? Tell him you love him too the moment I love escapes his mouth. Do not wait for the you. He may change his mind, and then what will you do?
Thank you for that poem. I have read from that chapter, or was it a Gazelle? Yeah. The rain is like you, the rain is like you. And what I love about poetry is its accessibility. Even though sometimes I feel like you make it so accessible. Yeah, so but of course there is that recurrent tenderness in the poems of a woman who is always very earnest. You know, I don't know how to I love your poetry. It's a very good place for somebody to escape into from the noise and other poems that you have to read over and over again. And there is this thing you always do with your poems. You leave a punchline at the end. See, I recall the punchline, not the title of the poem, and then what you do. So let's go. We're going back now to the title of the section. I know there are so many poems there. It's wonderful titles. So how did you end up with pickled moments?
Yeah, so like my mentor here, I'm very terrible with titles. I think when I composed the manuscript, most of the poems were untitled. So I tried to make the section based on the themes. So the different sections have different titles, and Pickled Moment is the title of one of the sections. So after I submitted the manuscript and the editor, Richard has looked at it, he came back and said, "What's the title of your collection?" I was like, "Oh, so far it doesn't have one." I even felt like, why can't we must I have the title? And so I sent some titles and they were like, no, this is not it, this is not it. So one day I was talking to my friend Sally about that I've been unable to get a title. And he was like, okay, how did you do? He was asking me questions about the collection and stuff. And I told him it's intersections. And he said, okay, what are the title of the various section? And I told him, then I now realized, okay, Pickled Moment is one of the title, and why I gave that title to a particular section is because generally my writing, my poetry tries to capture moments in some way or another. That's true. So when I was naming the title, I had this book in my mind. Abundacho is the god of small things, and you know the family in the book have a factory where they pickle fruits and vegetables. I can't remember the name, but it's pickled something. So I was like, okay, when we pickle moments in poetry, we are preserving them. So essentially, my poetry is trying to preserve moments by pickling them and making them into poetry. So I just said, okay, let me call the collection Pickled Moments.
Wow, that's a beautiful title, origin story. Yes, okay, because I was about to start accusing both of you because for me, titling my work is very key. Even for the singular poem, I love giving titles that anybody can remember, anytime, you know. So sometimes I might find a title that is not even within the collection, because I am very particular about it, because titles give away an idea of any book. When you come interface with a book, the title is the first thing that you read, so it's an ivory night. The ivory has connotations, but for me, when I think of ivory, I think about the raw, the mineral, that is ivory itself, like used in making. So I'm thinking about music, how so you've seen also how ivory night brings us. Of course, let's move to Razak, welcome once again. Like you got us more soup. Looking so fresh. All right, so the other name of grief. Grief is a very, very, very how like it's something. Well, am I vocal enough?
Yeah.
Okay, so, where was I? Okay, the other names of grief. Grief is a very, very important word in Nigerian poetry now. But you wrote your book back in 2018. For that particular chapter, 2018, yeah. So that was way back before the word grief. It's now like the principal word in Nigerian page poetry. Should I have that? Yeah, okay. But besides that, you're a very melancholic poet, right from time. There is always this wailing, this tradition of wailing in your poetry, about the country, about state of things. I wouldn't like to really ask you about how you wrote those poems, but in your estimation, from then and now, how have you come so far from dealing with always being melancholic in your poetry? When you write them, does it weigh you down? Does the content weigh you down? Because when I read works like that, I feel very, very morose for some period of time before that mood leaves me. So from then and now, will you still write those kind of poems?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. I think as far as 2011, 12, I've always written about the country, writing about grief, sadness, loss, which is occasioned by,
reality.
Yeah, reality is Nigerian state and everything. I don't think things have changed in a way. I mean, yeah, for me, the language is important. It goes beyond personal experiences. It's global now because when it comes to grief, so I try to think about one, what is happening, losses and everything that is happening here. So when I was writing or compiling my poems for that chapter, so I wrote this poem around 2017, and then I was thinking about the everyday killing, the everyday black, everything. So it was intense. So I was writing and writing and writing. I mean, you listen to the radio, the news was, everything was bad, and we were like, okay, fine. How do I express myself? How do I write about this happening? So those periods, I mean, I was writing every day, like most time I do write, like, I was like, okay, fine, let me just keep these poems. And then social media platform, Facebook is like my home where I share my poems and everything. So when Ali reached out to me, like, okay, fine, let's have the poems. So I wasn't even thinking about compiling those poems, like So, but it came at a period when those poems were ready. I mean, they were just there. And then I was like, okay, let me just, because that was also the period when I was submitted for the junior. And then I already had this contract for the chapter from the APPA.
All right.
So, yeah. So, and then that call came from Ali that, okay, fine, let's have your chapter, let's copy the chapter. And then I, Keshinomo, Sydney, and so we're like four. So I had to just compile those words and send to them, and they were like, okay, fine, let's publish this. Um, but for me, grief is constant in my poems. And it's not deliberate. It's not deliberate because most times I just sit down and then I look at the temperament of the world, everything happening. But I will also mention the fact that I stay alone, like I keep things to myself like for a long time. I'm always alone, like in a way. And for me, that quiet space uh, provides me the chance to think deeply and to look at the world critically now. You know. I mean, I'm not displacing the place of happiness and joy in everything we do, but then that feel is like, I don't know, everywhere I want to, it's there. We can talk about love, family loves, friends dying, people going elsewhere. I mean, so these are always returning to me whenever I sit to write. You know, I'm trying to raise the world we live, the world we inhabit, people living, not economy, you know, friends, departing, you know.
And you don't get overwhelmed by that kind of writing.
Yeah, I mean, it happens because it's not easy to delve into that space where you continue to write about grief and everything. But like you said, it's been an inseparable, element, yeah, part of me. I mean, it's been more than a decade now. So, yeah, so even when I try to write something different, it's slips into the,
We definitely cannot escape
yeah,
from,
yeah. So it still appears or reflecting my use of language, or even the basic preparation, like whatever I want to write, it happens that probably in one of the lines and it reflects.
Okay.
Yeah, but you are right. It hasn't been easy, like
because
engaging that trope for a very long time. Yeah.
For me, for example, I'm not against writing about the realities of our lives. But when some of us began writing, all these polemical kind of poems that's trying to talk about things going on in society, you write, and you discover that people have written about these things before you. Sometimes even better, and it's just as if we are just in this conglomerate of wailing and wailing and wailing and wailing. So for me, at some point, I got very tired. Like it's enough, So, but what I realized, on the other hand, that was prior to when I published my chapter, was that it was a self-immolation. It's not something you can escape. What I did to stop writing those poems was simply to shut down or insulate myself from the realities. Because as a poet, as a writer, as a creative person, I think you're always being, haunted by these demons, So I just discovered that you cannot escape from it. So, but it's trained me, on the other hand, to write lesser of those kind of poems. But once in a while, I often go back and I write those kind of poems. Yeah, okay. So, I was talking about the creative, how writing grief poems might overwhelm you or not. And I like to think about writers like Christopher Kibo, for example. He was a kind of poet. It seemed as if his writing was always an approach to death. There are lines in his poems calling on to death, so much so that all his poetry, sadly, the way he died, it's as if that was the final act of his act of poetry. Like that death, joining the military and going to that. So that was the final act of his poetry. And sometimes I would like to think, because creative people, their minds are very fertile. They allow, they preoccupy themselves with things the ordinary man sometimes just wave aside. Creative people tend to be philosophical, they think a lot. And I think for very young creative minds, um, being preoccupied with tragedy, grief and all, sometimes it's now become a place where you might get, stuck in. So what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so let me return to the Yokiko reference that you brought, and then Kofi Awolo came to mind.
Okay.
Yeah, because probably that was like my foundation. When I was in secondary school, I read Song of Sorrow by Kofi Awolo.
Yeah.
And I even had to memorize the poem. And then we can think about the tragic end, I mean, the bombing of the Westwall Gate and everything, and how Kofi Awolo died. And then also thinking about this essay written by Tejuko on Kofi Awolo, and I mean, like, something like prophetic, how the poems probably reflect the end of the world. Like, okay, fine, this is how I'm going to die. And then there's this poem by Timothy Wangusa, It Taxi Driver on His Death, capturing the that metallic monster, according to, I mean, in that poem, how being a driver, I mean, driving in a way on the road can also lead to death and everything. So, yeah, I mean, for me, it can be it can be traumatic in a way, like when you think about this constant returning to the, and like you said, it's inevitable because whether you like it or not, it's everywhere. Wherever you turn to, immediate family, society,
especially in Nigeria.
I mean everywhere. So for me, it's, even when I try to like escape that to breathe, it comes in different forms, different ways. I mean, people are writing now about displacement, exile, and everything, which I think is also another form of grief because that you are living home through borders, you are living home through the sea, through the Sahara Desert. I mean, how do you think about being the grip of living home now, like in this place? So, whether you like it or not, it appears, it comes again and again. And this doesn't mean that I do not try to like probably explore other tropes, but at the same time, because again, you can think about the temporariness of love too, and without separation. I mean, love is sweet, love is tender and everything, but at the end of the day, we have to confront that reality to like the end of love.
Yeah, well, I think that's why I like some of Ismail Bala's poems. He's a lover man. While everybody is weeping about love, he's praising love, saying very beautiful things about love. So, Ismail Bala, how do you do that?
Well, like you said, living in Nigeria would be, as Achebe many years ago said, could be very exciting and could be very storytelling.
Exactly.
At the same time, one has to insulate himself from all the bad news that is daily being churned out. If you listen to the news, large chunk of the news is bad news.
So the news is bad news everywhere.
News is bad, but Nigeria is exceptionally so. Like I said earlier on, I wanted to debunk the theory that love is just about romantic love. To write about love is itself a political statement. You could talk about the happenings in Nigeria, like when there's married, without in any way stultifying your readers, without having grief and bad news and bad governance and all the bad thing about Nigeria dominating the poem. I'm always citing this example from Eastern Europe, from apartheid era South Africa. At the height of the Cold War, there was a type of literature called Sedizat, which is, if you like an underground, which is usually cyclo style. Now, there's a lot of censorship in Eastern Europe at the time during the Cold War, during the communist era. So what the writers in the Eastern Europe did was to write about politics without necessarily appearing to be doing so. The same thing with South African writers during the apartheid era. There was a lot of censorship. So what they did was they criticized the government without appearing to do so. They, for example, used a lot of myth from oral literature, criticizing the government. The same thing happened with Malawian poets. During Kabusi Banda, he locked up so many poets, like the poet you shared his book with someone. What's his name? He's now in the UK. Jack Papanji. So they hid behind writing law, for example, to talk about larger political issues. So that's what one of the aim of writing about law politics is not just to celebrate law, its tenderness, its beauty, and so on, but to make a political statement without necessarily grip-laden the leader, without saying that I'm talking about Nigeria. All right, it's an escapist kind of writing, but at the same time, it's also political because to choose not to write about politics, it's itself also political statement.
Okay, thank you. That's what we say to that. I remember asking you, sorry I was being very arbitrary, oh, there's so much of these poems about grief and all this, can you cut some of them out of your collection and so on and so forth. So I don't want to be the one to respond to Bala. When you say writing love poems is also a political statement. Why you were saying that, in my mind, I was like, I think love poems are where some of the best poems get written. So when I'm reading a love poem, I'm not sensing any political, I don't know whether there's a political statement coming from it. It's not reminding me that after I've read this poem, I have to remember that there's a bad poem. So what do you say to Bala?
Well, what I kind of Ismail, you asked why there were so many grief poems. So I don't know, it's possible that you write about love or anything to escape or to make a political statement. It's his own way of writing, or like he said, it's political. But when I write, I think it was after I started writing poetry, and then people will say, this is political, this is this. I have none of this in my mind when I write. Like I said, I mostly write from inspiration by moments, conversations, or personal things happening to me. So my poems are deeply personal, and when I write them, I don't look at any political perspective. I don't write about love to escape Nigerian wahala. Then I don't write about Nigerian wahala to escape about love. I just write when it comes, and when I feel like I have to preserve this, or to some cliche, when I feel like I must write this. So it's when readers and critics like you come and start saying, oh, this is political, this is grief, this is love, this is this, and I'll be like, oh, wow, that's nice.
So you're the quintessential creative. It's just let it come, it flows.
Yeah,
right.
Everything else is the job of the readers.
Okay. Can you read something for us?
Yeah, sure.
Razak, you prepared to read something for us. So can you do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Razak, what was the last poem you wrote?
That's like last month. It's more. I mean, the title is
What was it about?
surrender. It's about victory or dying. Yeah, dying, but in a more philosophical way.
Okay.
Yeah. So because I can see that there is this maturity in the language and everything.
If you had the time to go back,
Yeah.
would you still write those kind of poems you're writing about the grief-laden poems?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's about it.
Yeah, so I'm going to read a poem titled I Love Us. I love the way we talk for hours, oblivious of seconds melting into minutes around us. how we get so lost in conversations that we do not realize how far we have moved from the shores and dive deep into the sea. I love the ease with which we weave metaphors out of words like we are two poets lost in the grip of a touch. I love us. I love the music of your laughter when it is I who orchestrated the rhythm. I love the way your breath quickens with the increasing beats of your heart when it is my hands that regulate the speed knob. I love the smooth ride of our tongues against each other when our lips form eternally towards forgotten. I love us. I love the perfection with which we fit into each other, the accuracy with which we predict each other's next words, and of the hunger with which our bodies devour each other when time pulls them in starvation. I love the intensity with which our hands doodle on each other's skin. I love the scent of our shared vulnerability. I love us, GU. Thank you.
Thank you for that point. Okay, Razak, let's hear you. I'm going back to all of you.
Okay, so this is
Ismail Bala, you're prepared to read in the shower for us.
yeah. So I'm working on again it's about the death of my grandfather.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean which is like personal and everything, but then
Yeah, real could
yeah.
yeah. So basically, it's a tradition. It's there. Okay, so let's hear.
So the title is What Are We For? There is no solution that surpasses the one in death. There is no bell that can steer the dead from their grave. My grandfather, buried here on his head of his ancestors, knows there is nothing that can pass the whole carved by death in the heart of the bereaved. Today, I wake up to the same world of uncertain dreams and phantom goals. I wake up to the quietude of the feet of grave. I know that somewhere there's a burial happening and there's a man closing the door of his father's coffin for the last time. Lord, don't await us at the end of this world. In death, I saw my grandfather's empty hands placed beside his dead body. He stared at his infant feet that, before his death, traveled across cities and towns. How dark the sky on a funeral day, and how cold the air, and how heavy the coffin that contains the dead. Today, I wake up in a room where my dead grandfather's clothes smell of his body. I know there's nothing heavier than carrying grief. I know there's nothing more haunting than the knowledge that someday we too will be lowered into this air, and no one will return to our rooms to fold our clothes and dust the photos and check if the face of flowers we place at the windows survive or die.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Ismail Bala, in the shower. One of your very funny like so much.
For those who have the book is on page 9, in the shower, after Nell Robinson. You climb onto the bathroom scales and stare at the dial, twirl back and forth. Beneath your weight, sweet, unwilling to stop. I added weight, you say in anger. How can you afford to leave me off? I lather in the shower and feel my full gut rise in the foggy water. I tell you about the scientists at the end of the subterranean labs trying to pass the universe in cuts of pure white. They are looking for black holes, for SNDH, for the missing gravity that will bring us together. The cosmos, it seems, is contracting infinitesimally. We are getting further apart by the minute. You pass your lips and turn to speak to me. I can't take it. You say, half a kilo? I tell you, you are pretty, but you look as beautiful to me as you eternally have. You shed off your shorts and get into the shower. As you adjust your shape into the pond and move closer to me, the water bubbles and bursts for a moment, then drips from the face, soaking the bathroom rug. Thank you.
Was I lying that Ismail Bala is always, about love, 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 love? What's the secret? Did that sound like a political statement to any of us?
Well, as you know, political or not being political is not making about an overly political statement. It's about making a choice, making a choice. I wrote the poems, the bulk of the poems at a particular moment. And I am a writer that writes only when I read as much as possible. I usually get my inspiration, if I should call it inspiration, from reading other people's work. I get the spark to write. And at the time, I was writing an academic paper on long poetry, so I had the chance to read as many long poems as possible. As some of my friends know, I love books. I have a lot of books. I write books on a daily basis. So I have a large collection of long poetry from across the world, not just African or Nigerian. And a challenge for me is to write after I read. So I discipline myself and challenge myself to write concomitant to how much I read. And that was how I
Which is also very something peculiar with your poetry. Most of your poems are after this poet, after. So
Yeah.
is that something you do, like, just like after you read a poem? Because I know you also sampled one of your poems.
Yeah.
Like, so how do you feel doing that? Is it like a post appreciation of the work? Like you want to give the work some kind of longevity beyond the author or something like that?
You could call it that. I'm also a teacher of literature.
Okay.
So I've read a lot about intertextuality, about how, whether we like it or not, or whether we admit it or not, all literary writings are interlocked, are interlinked.
Yeah.
Additionally, so if you like. There is also this theory that nothing is original as far as literature is concerned. It's like a translation from a larger conscious body of literary activity from which all creatives or writers draw from. So what I do the after, it's like admitting one, the quality of the poem or the poem that I have written after. Two, it's like what T.S. Eliot said, that good poets imitate, but true poets still. So if you like, it's like admitting that I still quote unquote from other people's work. Maybe that's why I'm often being charged, wrongly so, that I don't sound African or Nigerian, whatever that means. I mean, I find it scandalous when people say that. I never set out to be anybody else other than me. The late British poet, people like him, famously said, I don't want to go around pretending to be me. So I don't want to go around pretending to be me.
Exactly. Yeah, because I was very conscious. Yes. I was very conscious when I read a line of sight to reconcile with the poetry. It was something else. I was like, who is this guy? I'm like, who is this guy? They were cool. I think Paul Liam also had that problem. So he was very vocal about it back then. So I don't mind Paul. I've also I like to tell people that I'm more of like how I put it. I'm an outsider. I did not study arts for a long time. I only came to it very late. So I also don't have that very signature homegrown style that people might be looking for. So I understand your plight. So you talked about how you write when you're intensively reading. And so it means like your this poem you just read out in the shower, it's not from experience. It's not something that happened to you.
Well, you could make the argument that all writing, whether we admit it or not, is autobiographical in a way.
Mostly poetry.
Autobiographical in the sense that we may be drawing from a real experience, or we could be drawing from an imagined experience. In the last few days, we have been talking about love poem in Hausa. Hausa people were made to believe that Hausa is unromantic, which Professor Olympic is here. I don't believe it's so. We were brought up to be very bashful, to hide our emotion. There is no way that I can write this poem in Hausa. I would find it difficult to say to my children or to my wife, not saying to I would feel, but I could say it in English. It's just like insulting. When it comes to making insult, people are more at home using a different language other than their own, their own mother tongue. So if you ask me to write love poems in Hausa, if I write them, I will hide them. Even Ibrahim Sudan, you perform. He's a very bashful, he's a very shy person. I'm sure it takes a lot of courage for him to come and perform. So it's autobiographical in the sense that it's imagined experience. Of course, some of the poems that I have written are from direct experience. All right, but majority of them are just from imagined.
Okay. I'm driving to a point actually. So on to Nasiba, the poem you read, I Love Us. Was it also from your personal experience or something imagined?
It's a mixture of both.
Okay, mixture of.
Yeah, it's a mixture of both.
Okay,
yeah. So I said I get inspired by moments too, and then I sometimes when I want to write about an experience, I like to go back to a similar experience and then merge it with things I imagine as I write. Because you know there is a funny thing with writing. Most times you start up with something in mind, but then it might end up becoming entirely something different else. Now if you look at the point, this point on the page, it's actually written like prose. Because when I want to, it's not the conventional way I write, it's more of a poetic prose. So I was trying to write it, and then it was not like I couldn't know how to put it properly into stanzas. So I just wrote it into short sentences with real and imagined experiences. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I'll come back to what the other thing you said there. Okay, I was trying to understand the process of writing. I was talking to Razak earlier before we came here. He was the one that brought up the question, how is writing prose and poetry to me? He was trying to figure out which comes easier or which would I prefer to. Can you ask that question again? Razak?
Yeah, so I was thinking about the way prose comes to you and then the way writing comes to you. I mean, poetry, like, which one is easier?
Okay, yeah. Okay, so I don't know. I think for writers who have written for a while, one of the things you learn eventually is you stop asking yourself some of these questions, which they are often there when you begin. You know, there's so many questions. People look for tips, people look for books on crafts, and so on and so forth. You know, and one of the things that helped me back then was realizing the idea of response. And I think I took it so much to heart that sometimes it's like a disadvantage to me. I cannot write poetry except it is deeply personal, except it is something I have experienced, because I've learned that sometimes it's the profoundest things that you can ever write. Most great literature, Achebe himself, you know, he is guilty of saying when he read all those books by the English authors, and there's a caricature of an African person, he took the side of the white man until one day he realized that he's not supposed to be taking the side of the white man in these stories, because it is him they are talking about in this caricature manner. And he decided, no, I'm going to write back. I'm going to tell my own story from where I come from. We all know the result of that, a book that has, cemented its place in literary canons across the whole world. So I always have this idea that yes, great art, good art, comes from a deeply genuine place of response. So that is my creative process. So I may go for a long time without writing anything, and then I just get a flash. Something happens that I have to react to, and then the poem comes. I write it within 5 minutes, and I don't have to go back and overwrite it and do all those kind of things. So, what are the processes involved? Some writers, some writers will say they don't want to be influenced by the voices of others who are under their originality. They will prefer not to read anything when they're writing, but you choose to read. So quickly, you just tell us the process, how the writing comes to you.
Well, for most part, the writing comes consciously. I don't believe in the inspiration in the romantic sense of it. When you have to write, you have to write. Example, you write for the Republic. If you are commissioned to write an essay for which you are going to be paid, and whether you like it or not, if you take the commission, you have to force yourself to write. I also write, do some consultancy, I write academic papers. If I am commissioned to write something, whether I like it or not, I will force myself to get the inspiration and write. But the creative writing is different. For me, if I want to write, like you said, I will write. I can take a long time without writing anything, and then suddenly there's a buzz, and I can write as many poems as possible. For example, from around March this year up to May, I've written over 30 poems, almost on a daily basis. I've written, but since the beginning of May, I have not written anything. 2003, I didn't. I only wrote 2 poems throughout 2003. But 2004, I wrote like already. I have written about 50 poems. Probably I go through the whole year without writing anything. I normally think of what to write in my head, and then I have a lot of these fancy deluxe notebooks that I rarely use. I use pencil. I scribble quickly, and then after I'm satisfied with what I've written on the page, I make a lot of indentations using pencil, and then I will type up the poem on my computer. And then I have a folder in which poems are arranged based on the year in chronological order. Basically, this is my writing process.
Okay, thank you. Nasiba.
Well, my writing process is kind of. I don't think I have a really strict writing process. It comes and I write, and then most times, especially earlier when I started, I write my poems in a very short time. Maybe within 5-10 minutes, I'll be done with a piece. Because, but then later on now, I am comfortable with taking time, nursing the idea of writing the poem before I now write it. But then I write mostly when either you said Razak writes a lot about grief, but I think I write mostly when either I'm in some sort of melancholic mood, or if I'm relaxed, I'm not too busy. Being busy and writing, I don't get to do it. So when I'm relaxed, when I'm in some sort of grief, and sometimes if I want to write something and it's not coming, I like to read too, to get myself into the mood of whatever it is that I'm trying to write. So that's basically it.
All right, thank you. I will be engaging the audience very soon. So Razak, your writing process, please.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm always reading. So reading inspires me. Like sometimes I carry the lines in my head for days. I mean, I know what I want to write, but then I also want to read other people to see what they are listening, the language and everything. So I have this note application, like this app on my phone. Yeah, look app. So I have the draft ready. So I type it directly, and then I list then probably after a week or two, then I return to the poem, then I do it again, then I do it. So it takes like more than a month, but then if I want to submit to a journal, then I return to the poem, then I sit, probably spend like a day or 2 days, and then edit and then submit. Yeah.
All right, thank you. We've been speaking with Ismail Bala, author of Iron Nights, Asiba Babele, author of Pickled Moments, and Rasak Malibolahan, author of The Other Names of Grief. You probably read their works, met them, you interact with them, and now is the moment or time for you to ask them some questions that you have at the back of your mind. So please, the floor is open if you want to ask a question or engage them. Yeah, let's see. This indicates here. Paul, who else? Okay, Professor Mamun Fashi. Paul, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's been an engaging session listening to all of you, bear your minds and your processes and what writing means to you and your inspirations and the likes. So I'm going to ask some personal questions. Ismail Bala, you are often considered to be the representation of the white man in Nigeria and in Kano. Would you like to share some insight with us on how you came about, what really influences you? Because again, when I see your status on WhatsApp, you're always sharing some absurd paintings of
Picasso.
Picasso of centuries ago, European. I've hardly seen anything about the Kano villages or something. Why is that? What is the disconnect there? Your love with the West is so strong. How does that affect your poetry? And is it a form of alienation from your cultural reality? Do you not align with the culture here? That's my question to you.
All right.
Nesiba,
you have questions for all of them?
Yes, I have all of them. This one is a short one. Nesiba,
okay. Just make them very short.
So much about love, also so much about one who has the heart of is it Ganda or Komo? I would like you to help us reconcile with this very emotional being or status that you seem to have. We have not heard that there is one Alhaji somewhere. Are we expecting that after this festival? Or what is actually inspiring those romantic poems that you're writing? With the Ganda heart, Prof is helping me. So I'm not alone in this my line of questioning. So I'd like to know what's the connection between your reality as a person and the love that you profess in your work. And then Razak, grief. But you also do a lot of advocacies in traditional African poetry, in oral poetry, in the Yoruba oral tradition. How are you able to blend, this reality of doing page, doing spoken word or Riki or Yoruba oral tradition? How do you reconcile all of these creative processes that you're engaging also as a promoter of Yoruba language? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul, for your questions. I think, Razak, you answer first. Just like that.
Yeah, thanks for that question. So for me, I think I had this solid upbringing, growing up. Growing up in Shine. So I try to think about this cultural subject in a way, how I can promote them through origin, like on Facebook, on social media platforms. But then I also write poetry in Yoruba, but I do not post some of these poems online, but I also do poetry in Yoruba. So I don't think there is probably like this bold influence in Yoruba on English writing. I don't think so. I think they are separate. They are quite distinct. So I do Yoruba poetry, then I do English poetry. I try to promote each of these like in a different way. Yeah. So I don't know. I know there are some poets that infuse Yoruba lines into their poems. Someone like Ahmed Hussein. So they try to infuse Yoruba lines into their poems, but I haven't tried that before because probably I've not considered that I should. But yeah, I think they are separate. They are separate, two separate things, and I do both like separately. Yeah.
All right. So let's see, Ram.
Why?
Don't allow him. We'll fire
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, I think, okay, it's the point of light that likes to write about love. It's not a singer. So she's the emotional person. And but more on a very serious note, my love poems are not essentially poems. I think they are poems of heartbreak and sadness and sorrow. So I don't write when I'm in love. I enjoy the love, and then when they serve me breakfast, I'll come and serve you with poems. Yeah, so did I answer your question?
All right, all right. Okay.
Quickly, those who know me closely, probably you are one of them, even though we don't live in the same city. We know that I'm a deeply cultural person. Look at how I'm dressed. I would like to admit that I've never wear a suit in my life, even though I studied in the West. Whether we like it or not, as many psychoanalysts, psychologists, post-colonial critics have said, whether we like it or not, we are product of two cultural wars, the West and Africa, because of colonialism. I never set out to be any other person than I am. Of course, I studied in the West. I taught literature for 20 years. I taught American and British literature. I have an enormous body of literature on British, American, and European literature. Consciously or otherwise, what we write, who we interacted with, rub on us. So probably that may explain it. But I never set out to write poetry that sounds alien or sounds Western. If you are there, I don't know whether you are at Kapfest some few months ago. Richard Ali gave a brilliant answer when he was asked about whether there is Nigerian poetry. Poetry has no nation, other than where probably it's composed or where it's published. So my poetry, it's Nigerian, it's Hausa, it's Kano, probably as much as it is American by association or it's British by association. But I never set out to be to write in any particular way. I thought I'm writing to express myself, and that's how your sensitivity and your sensibility inform how you write. So probably it's my sensibility and sensitivity that makes me write the way I write. But I've never consciously set out to sound alien.
Yeah. And the poems are nice, by the way. You write from your experience, and like you've said, you've consumed so much of the Western canon, so there is invariably no way that you can, And I had that problem too, and that's why I started the magazine. You go online, most of us we are more introduced to foreign magazines. You read so many foreign writers, and when you start writing, you idolize some of these people, in fact. And one of the things about the hazard about being a writer is that once you start writing, it's imitation. So I think that's where that comes from. Thank you, Kate. You have Professor here.
Let me just probably begin from where Ismail stopped.
All right.
It's just short question, two of them also.
Okay.
I understand from where Ismail is coming from, because I'm sure if we are going to take a statistics of regions, we'll find out about 90% is alien. Probably that's why he is now behaving in that particular manner, writing in that manner, and it is totally okay. Don't even feel it is disgusting. It is part of it. That's how we are likely going to be. But I would love to see a situation whereby when you are deep in the West, when you are deep in those kind of writings, try as much as possible to imagine that we are now back into Kano, into a local community. Like for instance, the poem we just read in the shower. I would love to see if it's a challenge. I would love to see a poem coming out in the toilet in the lab. Not in the shower. Because when I heard you reading it, I said, where did you get the shower? Is it Kano? I don't even know that you have ever been into the shower. Unless probably you are in what? In a hotel or somewhere else. But in Kano here in Dada, you go this around it. Why are you getting that imagination? Come down, put something down in the toilet, in that local toilet that you have. What is going to happen to you? What is going to happen to us? What do we see in that?
Tell us what's happening at the Messiah.
I think that would give me an understanding of who you are. But if not, I will always look at you from where? From the West. For my friend, Nesiba, it's the same thing also. I love us. Who are those us? Sometimes, yes, the imagination is there, but then the reality at the same time should be there. And that's why when we read you, we see the light, we see the understanding, we see almost everything about you. Just like Paul said, where is you? You. That is hater in quote of love. And then you are now here telling us that you love us, you love everything about life, you love all these things. From where is it coming from? Is it from you or from your imagination? Or of what you feel probably is love? Because if you don't experience it enough, then you have no way of what put it down. For Razak, this is the first time I'm meeting you, but I have read for so many years. Grief. I love that. But I would love to see also you talking about grief where there is no grief. You already made it into your own latitude. You are going to talk about grief. Wherever it is, political grief, love grief, whatever it is. But I want to see a point coming from you. When you are under, I don't want to put it so that people will not feel it is a vulgar thing. When you are with your wife, instead of a bed sheet, write a poem there and let me see grief.
All right.
And that's when I will understand that you really love grief. That you can also go out and explain the grief you experience when you are there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. There was a hand behind you. What was that? Okay.
Thank you very much. My question goes to.
What's your name?
My name is Khalid Imam Khalid.
Okay.
My question goes to Males Naila Bala. In your conversation, you say you can't say I love you in Hausa. So what is the strength of not saying I love you in Hausa? Please explain. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that question. Yes,
I said it, if you remember what I said we are brought up in Hausa society to be bashful, to be shy, to hide our emotion. It's not that I cannot say it, but it's not in our culture, quote unquote, to be open with our emotion. It's not that I cannot say it, of course I can utter the word, but it may not carry a lot of weight if I say it. I may not mean it the way I would say it in English. That's what I mean.
I think you're just dealing with cultural weights. Yes, there's a hand over there. The burden of cultural weights.
My name is Ibrahim Sundengi. In regard to what Madam Ismail Bala said, saying that you cannot express love in Hausa, I think, with all due respect, that is what Baba Madam Fashi Ibrahim has been trying to show us, to break the barrier and the stereotype that people are Hausawa cannot express love or their deeper emotion in the language. I think if we have not, if we do not start doing it now, then when did Hausawa get the chance to start expressing their deeper emotion? When I think fairly poetry is not a cultural thing, as you have cited Richard Ali saying that it doesn't have any nation, right? So I think that poetry is a much of a human thing, a human artist, something that tells us what a human being is, not what a Hausa or an American or English people are. And if the English people and Arabian people that we so much admire can write ghazals and eroticism, then why not Hausawa? Thank you.
Thank you. No, I want someone else to respond to that. Someone in the audience. Oh, okay. I would really love that answer. Okay, fine.
We can continue the discussion outside the hall. Sorry.
All right. It has been a pleasure. I enjoyed talking with these very fine poets.
Okay, I think you mistook what I was saying. I said I want to debunk the notion that Hausa is not a romantic language. It is. The problem is we mustering the courage to make Hausa the romantic language that we think it is by writing about it, by saying it. Of course, it's not something you can just one day start saying it. It takes a lot of courage, like I said, a lot of practice. So maybe me saying this and writing about it is the beginning of that mastering of the courage. Yes.
All right.
That's why I like the kind of poetry that you do, even though you appear to be a really bashful, shy person. But look at you writing about love all the time.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome once again to Kapfest. Thank you for having us.
Please let's put our hands together. Thank you so much. That was such a very brilliant panel. Just a few housekeeping. We have the mosque. It's my geography fails me. I don't know what direction to say, but once you come out of the gate, the mosque is easy to